Hello, everyone, and welcome to AEW 101, which is a bonus series that comes along with AEW Salute to the Sickos, where we tell AEW fan stories, and you can listen in and follow on their likes, dislikes, and that that those episodes drop every once in a while, and you could follow us on all the major networks as we go along, from Spotify to Apple to Amazon to pretty soon even YouTube. So a lot going on here. But today's topic is a very interesting one because we are starting at the beginning, um, with AEW and letting you beginners know exactly how in the world this whole thing started. It's a whirlwind event that set the world on fire and changed it drastically. So with that, we're gonna throw it to Val, and she's gonna begin the story.
Well, good evening, everyone. I hope you have a pleasant evening listening to all of us. So I'm gonna talk about the founding fathers of AEW, which is the Elite. The Elite is consisting of Cody Rhodes, who is no longer with AEW, but I have to mention him because he's a very big, important role in all of this. So Cody, the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Adam Page. So to put into context of the Elite, where it came from, so they had they had if you all familiar with the Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling, so they debuted the Elite on January 5th, 2016. And that date is very important because this is the day when Kenny Omega turned on the previous leader of the Bullet Club, AJ Styles, and with Matt and Nick decided to put the Elite together. So these five people have an impressive resume. So I'm just gonna list a few of them. So the Elite were the two-time never open-weight six-man tag team champions. Kenny Omega is a former IWGP heavyweight champion, intercontinental champion, two-time US heavyweight champion. The Young Bucks are the seven-time, and I believe this is a record, of the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champion, two-time IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champion, three-time ROH Tag Team Champion, and in AEW, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page are former AEW World Champion. Also, Kenny is former international champion. Together with Adam Page, he was a former tag team champion. And the Young Bucks are the three-time tag team champions. Trios champion, so consisting of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And also, they are the executive vice president. So it was Cody, Kenny, and the Young Bucks. Hangman is not an EVP. Storyline-wise, the Young Bucks are no longer the executive vice president of AEW. And also, I have to mention that Kenny Omega is also a G1 Climax winner in 2016. So there you have it. So they were the ones that set up the world of wrestling on the independent scenes on fire, and they wanted to create something. And that leads us to the creation of AEW in January 2019. And also they created the wrestling pay-per-view that we all know and fell in love. And it is the first ever I was about to do the other company, I'm sorry. The AEW All In. So I'm going to let someone else talk about All In and leave this information out there.
So yeah, so basically, I'll piggyback off of that. So basically, All In started off basically as not really a bet, but as a challenge. Well, the Elite took it as a challenge. Someone tweeted or messaged Dave Meltzer and asked, "Do you think a non WWE event could, in fact, get get over 10,000 tickets sold?" Well, the Elite said, "You know what? We're going to do it." They did it on a wing and a prayer. They got some sponsorships. Um, Hot Topics, TGI Fridays, and good old Crackle Barrel, who are friends of the Elite, helped sponsor it along with Ring of Honor. Uh, they they were told that it was not a good idea for them to open up ticket sales on a Sunday, and they were proven wrong because it sold out in about 29 minutes. Uh, it was a very stacked card with a with many people who some of which are now infamous, like Tessa Blanchard and Marty Scurll was on there as well. He had a match. Kenny Omega and Penta had a match in which Kenny won, but a surprise Chris Jericho came out and attacked uh, Kenny Omega dressed as Penta, which that's kind of been Chris Jericho's calling card, dressing up as someone else and attacking people ever since the history of that. Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes were in a match where Cody won the NWA title away from Nick Aldis, who later got it back at a different uh, setting. Rey Mysterio was there, and he was in a trios match with Bandito and Rey Fenix, who was against the Golden Elite, who was Kota Ibushi and the Young Bucks. They had a great match. Was the main event. That match was so well that it sold a lot of pay-per-view tickets, and a lot and about 5,000 or about 50,000 sales in a pay-per-view sales. It went really well. In fact, that's where the the success was saw, and it was brought to the attention of Tony Khan, and from there, that's when it really started. I want to pause for a second and ask: do you guys have uh any questions or interjections so far?
Um, I was going to say on the founding fathers, this is kind of a question. Would you consider Chris Jericho kind of in that same vein, considering, I mean, he was really the big name for them?
Yeah, I think it's fair to give him some credit for that for sure. I don't know if founding father's appropriate given that the other guys really formed everything and served in that role going forward, but I think we could certainly give credit to Jericho.
I would call Chris Jericho the big fish.
Yeah.
He didn't have to get involved. He saw he was partly the visionary too. He may not have put it together, but he saw it from the beginning. I guess he even told Vince about it, and Vince is like, "Why are they doing it on Saturday? That's the worst day to have a show or something like that." I've heard discussed, but Jericho was very instrumental. He doesn't get his props enough for what he's done for AEW. A lot of people don't like him, and that's fine if you don't like him as a person. But as a business person, he got AEW.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I think a
Jericho
lot of
was.
people just didn't like the learning tree gimmick, but that's just me.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people didn't, but I'm not. I don't know. Some of what he's doing now, I don't like necessarily the routine he he's doing. But like I said, he's helped a lot of stars along the way, and who he didn't really have, but even Pineapple Pete, who was just there briefly. Uh, he saw, hey, this is a chance to get this guy over, and he got him over as well. So that's Chris Jericho for you, unselfish, and he deserves to be in. If there's a Hall of Fame one day, he should be one of the first inductees.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And
so
also,
go ahead.
Tony said that one of the ideas of having AW was the match that Chris and Kenny had at Wrestle Kingdom. That
Hmm.
match was insane, insane,
Yes.
insane,
Yeah.
insane. And that's started for him the wheels turning and say, oh, I think we got something there.
Mhm. So with that, let's turn to Taylor, and he'll talk a little bit about who Tony Khan is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Taylor Hale. I will be talking about Tony Khan, Tony Rafiq Khan, born in Champaign, Illinois, to Sadiq Khan and his mother An. His father is Pakistani and his mother is Caucasian from the U.S. So he has one sister, Shauna, and that's his ethnic background for anyone who cares about that. He's the illustrious owner and booker of AEW. And he took into wrestling about the age of 12, which, close to my heart. He said he started with 12 really getting into things like the WWE, but also getting into tape trading, in particular ROH. Well, boy, did I spend a lot of my early 20s trying to figure out how to get ROH tapes and pay-per-views and things like that. And boy, the internet helped, right? But that was his interest in pro wrestling. He started tape trading, using the internet to get vids. And a lot of what he imagined about AEW, he did talking to his friends as a kid. I've heard several interviews where he talked about he had the idea for Dynamite with his buddy and from the tape trading business when they chit-chat. He had the idea of All In, like the gambling terms for pay-per-views, different pay-per-view names that we now know as, Double or Nothing or Forbidden Door. These are things he thought about ahead of time. These were part of a young boy's imagination. And I think there's a certain beauty in that. And so a lot of the wrestlers that we now know and see are wrestlers he imagined having in that spot, Kenny Omega in particular, Cody Rhodes in particular, until he went back to the WWE and so on. Now, that dream of his childhood was only possible because Tony's father, Sadiq, became a billionaire thanks to a bumper business. That money, in turn, was used to buy sports teams such as the Jacksonville Jaguars and Fulham FC Football Club in the UK. This gives Tony the training because he served as a media operator for many of these companies. He made contacts in the business. He also gained liquidity from the sheer amount of cash volume that was there. And Sadiq very much wanted to back up his son's dream. Tony Khan personally is a Christian. He's married. He graduated University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign with a finance degree. He has won Best Booker for his work in AEW. The Wrestling Observer newsletter named him Promoter of the Year in 2019, 2020, 21, and 22, as well as Best Booker in 2020, 21, and 22, and that's during the COVID days when everyone struggled. His company spent 55% of their operating budget on their wrestlers. They pay for the airfare, hotels, and medical. They allow them to be true independent contractors, meaning these wrestlers can sell their own merch. They can go work indies. They can work big orgs if they're getting paid for it. There's no exclusivity there. And that is one of the many reasons why I love AEW and support Tony Khan as the head of that organization. Do you have any questions?